Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Although it's not all doom and gloom, it's not always peaches and cream either. In the last few days watering session I've been weeding things out again. Not everything grows well for me, not everything does well all the time, and I don't like giving a false impression that it does, because there's a tendency to just film the good stuff. You know, it isn't all good stuff. Most growers get some failures now and again, and some of them you never even know why. Anyway, I've been having a weed out. This mini Phalaenopsis will not grow. It's got a poor new leaf. It's got no active roots on it. Quite honestly, I'm fed up with looking at it, so that's going to go. This one has just been going downhill. It's lost 2 leaves recently. This one's not far off. It's very, very limp. It's not growing well, and its latest new leaf is poor. And although it seems to have a good root system, it just won't grow. I mean, the last good leaf it grew was damaged, and it's not right. There's something wrong with that plant, and I can't be bothered to even try and work out why. So that can go. This could even be a consequence of the wood that it's on. There's always that possibility. This one's been being rescued for some time, and when I saw the new growth I went, whoopee, I think we're going to make it, and then it's gone. Yeah, it's rotted off at the base, it's had it. So I can't be bothered to wait for another one and wait all the time that it will take, so that's going. That was Masai Red, so that's replaceable. That's one of the mass-produced orchids that I've had a while, so that's, if I choose to, that can be replaced. This one probably can never be replaced, which is a shame. This plant got bacterial rot. It's an odontoglossum type. It was Gold Coast crossed with Stonehurst yellow. I'll doubt if I'll ever manage to replace that, but it's gone. It's just dropped a leaf, so that's gone. This is Stardust Firebird. My mother plant got thrown out, and I kept some kikis, and I thought if they grow well, I'll keep the plant. Well, they're not growing well. Something wrong with this, and I'm not prepared to keep it around. I don't like it enough. And in addition to that, in the big box from Beatrix is a much better version that seems to be growing pretty good. So I'll grow that one on. Don't need 2, especially when one of them's, it's just not growing right. Kikis don't always work. This was some kikis I took off of Dendrobium moniliform. Now the mother plant's growing on nicely. I've got no problems with that. The kikis just didn't take. So that can go. Fed up with the pot being around. And in my little tiny miniature Neophonetia, a fern started to grow. And it grew and it grew and it grew. So I've taken it out. Hopefully that can be potted up and grown on. It's quite a nice fern. I like ferns. There was a tiny little one in there as well. I don't know whether I can save that little piece. But this one will grow. Needs potting up, obviously. So, like I say, it's not always peaches and cream. You do tend to, you know, you come out and you highlight your good stuff, your new blooms and your things like that, and stuff that's got loads of new growths on and things like that. And there's a tendency not to film the stuff that's not doing so good. But I like to give a sort of rounded picture if I can, and it, you know, generally speaking out here, stuff's doing good. But there are some exceptions, and missing them out just seems wrong to me. You know, it gives the impression that everything you touch grows really well. Well, that's not true for me. Some things just don't. One thing that is doing very well, though, is this. Dendrobium hibiki. And when I bought this, if you read up on this, apparently it blooms on the old leafless canes. Yeah, of course it does. It blooms, seems to bloom for me where it flipping wants. There's quite a few clusters tucked in behind. This is an old leafless cane that's got this cluster on and this one, so that's true. And that's got another cluster coming and another one hiding behind. So these blooms are on the older leafless canes. But these coming out round here are, I mean, okay, that cane's only got 1 leaf on, but that's a leaved cane and that's pushing some buds, so there are exceptions. But this colour doesn't exist anywhere else in the grow room. It's special. It just isn't there. I haven't got any other orchids that come out with colours like this. You know, it's a deep cerise cerise pink, I think is the expression, with a bright orange lip. So it's quite exceptional. Now you don't see the blooms that well because they grow in clusters, but individually they do look like dendrobium blooms. But as a cluster, they tend to look like something completely different. But yeah, that's growing on nicely. I'm very pleased with that. There was about 8 plants for sale. Peter White had them at one of the shows a while back, last year sometime. And most of the other plants were actually in bloom, so people were buying those. And I looked at this one and I thought, this is a much, much better plant than the others. No sign of any buds or new growths or anything, but to me it just looked a much better plant. And it's growing on nicely. It's got a stonking nice new growth coming out, just the one, but it's growing. So it's taken to its mount because it stayed in a pot for a while, and it's doing roots coming out all over the place. Some of the older roots are branching down in the moss, coming out the top, but it's growing a mass of new roots from the base, pushing down onto the mount. So that's growing well. Yeah, so you can see what I mean about the tendency to film the good stuff. You can also see why there's a tendency to film the good stuff. But it's not all, you know, peaches and cream, as I've said. Some things do just go down, some things struggle, and yeah, I haven't got the patience or the room to struggle too much. I mean, there's a whole set of struggles down there on the lower decks. These are all cool growers. None of these are growing well, but I'm struggling with them. Three of them have got new growths coming on, which, providing they give a root system at the same time, they should pull on. But when you get plants in a sorry state with desiccated pseudobulbs for backup, there's not a lot to help those new growths grow. And these are the ones that are prone to going down easily because they have no strength in them. And hopefully that strength can build up, providing the rescue is successful. What is that one on the end? I can't read it. Well, the one on the end with the stronger new growth is just it was named as a Cambria. It has gorgeous blooms on it, so I'm putting the effort into that because I love the blooms, but it's not a good plant. And the next three are odontoglossum types that are just not doing well. Maybe they'll pick up, so they get given a chance, but for so long. Not forever, for so long. I don't think there's too much else that I'd class as rescuing at the moment. I'll show you this while I'm there. My Catatanti spike. Last time I showed you that, I'm struggling here to see what the hell I'm filming because I'm up above my head. But I did say that what looks like buds coming out will probably turn into branches with multiple buds, which it is now doing. Yeah, so that's going to be a good spike. Beautiful colours on that. They're autumn colours, so they're similar to that Vanda up there. Not quite pure orange. They've got autumn tints to them. Well, the Catatantes like that and some, because the autumn tints are more prominent. But yeah, I'm looking forward to... Oh! Haha! Miltonia Sunset's decided to grace us again. See, that's got two good spikes on, and it's an enormous plant. The other spike is so far away from this spike that it looks like it's on a different plant. It's where the plant is so big. But yeah, that's just open, so I need to get that near the front where we can see it. And this is coming soon. This has been a rescue plant for 3 years. It pushed up a new growth, which has matured and has a bulb similar size to the others, so I classed that as doing okay. It's got another new growth coming now, tucked in away there, but it's produced a spike, and I haven't seen these blooms anywhere else, and since I got the plant. It was actually in bloom when I got it. But this plant came from the lady where most of my cattleyas that were infected with fusarium came from. So by assumption, I assumed this one had got it as well. And quite honestly, it lived with it for a while because I didn't know what it was or And if you don't know that you've got something like that, you obviously don't treat it because you don't know you've got it. But once I realised, you know, this plant had the treatment, hopefully, given that its latest growth is okay with roots underneath and has produced a bloom, if those blooms are good, then I'd class it as recovered. But maybe not fully recovered yet because it needs more new growths, but it's trying, and I'm looking forward to seeing these. The patterning is now showing on the buds, so it won't be too long before that opens. They're not huge blooms. Quite honestly, colour-wise, they're very similar to the Shelob Tolkien colours. There are pinks in there and some browns and some creams, obviously not spider shaped, they're more your Oncidium intergeneric type shapes. It's actually an Alisara. Evening colours, the gloaming, and that really does not turn up very often. So I'm pleased it appears to be rescued. I won't class it as growing well yet, but at least it stands a chance, and we get to see the blooms. And if it does go downhill, at least we get to see them before it goes. Always look on the bright side. Right, I'll leave it at that for today. I've got a lot to do. This Shelob Tolkien spike's going. One's gone. This one's now going. That leaves two. But again, it's a massive plant. 4 spikes all at once. Obviously, once those spikes are gone, I'll be looking for new growths. And I may be looking to split that plant. I'm not sure. I'm not sure sometimes whether splitting them sets them back too much. Depends where the new growths are coming out and whether you get it at the right stage, you know, with the new roots pushing out and all that sort of thing. I mean, quite honestly, it hasn't been in that pot too long. It can probably stay there for another session, if you know what I mean. So another sequence of new growths and blooms, and by then it will be climbing out of the pot. So that might be a time. Give it another sequence of stuff, because a lot of the Oncidium types and intergenerics along with them don't have an annual season. It's about 9 to 10 months. That's the time it takes to mature a growth and push a spike up. So they come round quicker, which also means they can be in bloom at any time. They don't have a season as such, which is good, because it means you get some all year round. If you've got enough plants, there'll always be something on the go. I mean, at the moment I've got this Shelob Tolkien. There's the Miltonia Sunset. That's a Oncidium Alliance type. And I've got the Wildcat Cheetah that's still doing well. Complete with ant. Gotcha. Tykes. But the Catatanti Spike, that's Oncidium Alliance, intergeneric. There's also a Shari Baby pushing a spike up. But there's an awful lot that are not as well, you know. Sometimes it looks like everything's in bloom out here. It's far from it. There's an awful lot that's in growth mode at the moment. An awful lot. I'll film that again because this is the last cane with buds on that have turned into blooms, and when they're gone, that's it. So that one will be over. Dendrobium friedrichianum has put on a hell of a show this year. But this is its final fling. These are the last blooms, and then that one will be gone till next year. And one last look at Hercoglossum. Those are the last 2 buds. When they're gone, that's it for the year again, and then it's a matter of pushing on all these new growths at the top, ready for next year. Yeah. So something is going on. Not much new at the moment, but there's things to come. There's another intergeneric up the back, Peter Comp. That's got 2 spikes on, so that'll be open down the line a bit. Most of my dendrobiums are in growth mode now. Certainly the resting types are, you know, this is their growing season. You know, this is the time when these big new canes are pushing on, which are doing just that. Surprising actually, my Latoria dendrobiums, not one of them's in bloom at the moment, but the majority of them are pushing up lots of nice new growth, so they will bloom down the line. Most of those are tucked away down here now. You can see there's nice new growths coming up. That's probably going to bloom soon. This is actually an antelope type. That's never bloomed for me. That's pushing up to stonking new growths. These were the last two new growths. If it's going to bloom, it's going to bloom on those. But I don't know when, because it never has. So I'm waiting to see what happens with that. So, you know, there's lots of little things coming on here. Some of these are kikis, some of them are just smaller plants. But I can cluster quite a lot of these together here. They get good light on this top shelf, so they do okay. These last quite a while, so that's looking nice. And this silly kiki over here of Comet King has decided to have another bloom on it. I'm not going to knock it because the blooms are absolutely stunning. It is one of the best nobly types, it really is. Well worth it if you can get hold of it, Comet King. It's just the combination of colours and the sheer size of the blooms. If you can get one growing well that does a mass blooming, you've got a real showstopper there. Cattleya wise, I think I've only got one that's liable to bloom in the not too distant future. That's that one, complete with ant. Practically every new growth has got an ant on it at the moment. Gotcha. But I'm dealing with them, slowly but surely. But that's going to be the next Cattleya to bloom, and at the moment it's the only one. It's the only one that's got buds. Again, they're all in growth mode. They're all pushing up new growths. You know, that's complete with ant. Oh, I missed that one. Get you later. Yeah, they're doing growth. You know, new growths coming up. So that's the stage they're at. Again, back here, two nice new growths there. So yeah, so things are growing on. It's that time of year. Even my Phalaenopsis type dendrobiums are growing. They have been so close to going under the hedge so many times. They don't do well for me compared with my other dendrobiums, but this year we seem to be having quite a few new growths starting. Well, if they can push on to decent sized canes, maybe those plants will sort of regenerate and start looking nice again. Certainly two of them had some serious bug damage, real serious stuff. But they're over that now, and the new growths are coming up clean, and they seem to be pushing on quite nicely. So we'll see what happens with those. This gigantic thing down here that I split and potted up, Chryso something or other, Chrysotoxum. The new growths on here are now starting to get going. They're looking quite good, or that one is. There's two more new growths lurking somewhere on that plant. It's probably around the other side, and this is too big to keep turning and mucking about with, and the fact that it's new in its pot, I've actually had to stake it to keep it upright. As it was drying out, it became light enough to tip, and I don't want it tipping over all the time, so I've staked it just to keep it more upright for now. And we'll see how that one goes. Right, I've got stuff to do in the house today and quite a lot to do on my computer. I've got to have a flipping good tidy up and move some stuff to the backup drive and things to do with the coach trip that I'm organising. Anybody who's southern UK, or even better, southwest, the British Orchid Congress and Orchid Show is one of those events that takes place annually, and it moves around from venue to venue, so it doesn't stay in the same place. It turns up in various places around the country, and this year the Rithlington School are hosting that event. So I'm organising a coach trip for the Orchid Societies to go to. Get us all there nice and safe and everything, and without driving ourselves. But it's on Saturday the 3rd of November and Sunday the 4th of November. It's in a village called Radstock, which is sort of south of Bath. If you're looking on Google Maps and you can see Bath and you look down to the south, you should find Radstock. It's about 10 miles south of Bath, so it's quite easy for us to get to. I think Bournemouth Orchid Society are putting on a display there. It's a mixture. It's got quite a lot of traders there, some UK ones, some EU ones, and some from farther afield. It's got Orchid Society's displays, but the real bonus is you get to look around the Rithington School Orchid Project glasshouses, where there are some incredible specimen orchids and some incredibly rare orchids too. Anybody who's ever seen one of their displays at an RHS show, or they were at Malvern, you see the sort of plants. Well, now have a think about 5 or 6 greenhouses full of plants like that. It's quite a spectacle. So yeah, a good event to look forward to, because as far as large orchid shows are concerned, there aren't too many now. I mean, both my orchid societies have got their autumn shows. One will be in September, one will be in October, so there's those to come. And then this event at Rithington School. There is a website. If you Google Rithington School Orchids, you'll find it. And they're doing, you'll see the BOC section on their list. They've got a newsletter that they're doing every couple of months, which lists what's going on, because there are talks that you can go and join in, lectures and things like that, and which orchid societies are putting displays on and which traders are going to turn up. So yeah, they're keeping tabs with a newsletter. Should be a good event. Put it in your diary if you can get to it. As I say, it's location wise south of Bath, so yeah, it's not that close to the M4, the nearest motorway, but not a million miles away. So it's accessible if you live anywhere from the South Midlands downwards, and preferably over the western side of the country rather than the other side. Like if you lived in Kent or something, it's a hell of a journey. Probably not on, but it's an event to think about going to anyway if you can get to it. It's very good. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.